The Fighting Rifleman's Rifle. My build, the modern M16, or the M16 for the modern man. Why? Why bother with an M16 nowadays? Well, we're going to get into that. 2 builds, one for competition, one for general use. The 20-inch rifle version of the AR. Hopefully that intrigues you enough to stay tuned. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about guns, gunfighting, tactics, ballistics the right way with God Almighty at the center. Biblical, Judeo-Christian values, and real-world first-hand experience. I guess I should start off with I have a fairly lengthy history with the M16 platform. I was issued an M16A2 when I joined the Marine Corps. And for my first tour for the initial invasion of Iraq, I was there for the initial invasion. There in Kuwait waiting for the war to officially start. And then for my second tour in Iraq, I was issued an M16A4. And this was long before the mass adoption of ACOGs. I was one of the earlier adopters of the ACOG. Back when they were giving them to a select few, I happened to be one of those, the Advanced Combat Optical Gun Sight. That's my history with that. I also, as you might imagine, have used M4s quite a bit in my military law enforcement, private security contracting career. So I have a fairly decent familiarity with both. And I have a decent amount of experience with classical rifle craft, however you want to quantify that. I cut my teeth. Before I joined the Marine Corps at 17, I was blessed to win I don't know how many competitions and a gold medal in Olympic-style rifle, a classic 4-position standing, sitting, kneeling, and prone. Well, last year I got back into that after a hiatus. I got into more tactical stuff and 3-gun kind of shooting competitions and faster kind of drag racing style stuff with rifles. And I wanted to get back into the classic rifle craft. I saw a place nearby had CMP, which is one of the original American rifleman disciplines. The CMP, Civilian Marksmanship Program, been around a long time, and they have the high-power service rifle competition, which is, again, your classic standing, sitting, kneeling, prone. You can look up the course of fire for that, but it's real rifle craft, not using a bench, not using a bipod or a tripod, you and your rifle. So that appealed to me. So I shot that last year. I shot it with whatever I had, which was an M4 type clone. I shot it with a fairly basic model of SIG Tread, 16-inch carbine. Good rifle, good all-around rifle, not best for that. So I thought this year, I'm looking forward to shooting that again by God's grace. Season starts up soon. So I've been building a piece at a time, or a couple pieces at a time. I've been building a rifle. So I'm going to talk about that first and then talk about my other build. So I started building a rifle more tailored to CMP competition. Now, you'd have to look up all the rule book and to see all the rules for that, but it's basically meant to imitate a service rifle. They allow some things, don't allow others, but basically a 20-inch M16 style rifle with either iron sights or a low-power optic, a service rifle trigger, a sling, pretty basic. So I built one off a Wilson Combat Lower. It was one of the blemish lower sales. I can't see a blemish on it, but I got it for a screaming deal. I built it with that. Palmetto State Armory nitride 20-inch upper, which shot pretty well. I got a nice Toolcraft nickel boron, I believe, really good coating, bolt carrier group. One, because I just really don't like cleaning the AR platform. It's one of the things I really don't like about it. So I got an upgraded bolt carrier group so it's easier to clean. I wanted to try a different optic, although I like the one that I ran last year. I just wanted to try something different, so I got the SIG 1-4, the SIG Tango 1-4, and it works great. I like that optic. I like it a lot. I shot several different loads for it. No surprise. One that I've shot in the past that works well out of a lot of ARs and is decently affordable is the Hornady Frontier 55 grain hollow point match ammunition. And it's decently affordable. It's like 60 cents a roundish or something like that. You might be able to find it cheaper, but it's a decently affordable round for as accurate as it is. So I shot a bunch of different rounds through it. At first I was a little discouraged. It didn't seem to like much. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to buy a different upper. But then I shot that ammunition through it, and it shot fantastic. It shot a very tight group, shot very well. So that's the ammo for that gun. And I can shoot some cheaper or some cheaper FMJ, if I'm just doing quick drills or whatever with it. I initially had a cheaper, I forget the exact brand. I don't want to say, I think I know what it is, but I don't want to disparage it if I'm getting the brand wrong. But I initially got a cheaper 4.5 pound 2-stage trigger, because that's the stipulations for the rule book, a service grade trigger. No lighter than 4.5 pounds, 2-stage, which I really don't like, but it's meant to be a service rifle, and service rifles have garbage triggers. I don't like that trigger. I don't like 2-stage triggers. I don't like curved triggers, and I don't like 4.5 pound triggers on a rifle. But that's what it stipulated, so that's what I got. And I got a cheaper brand, and it wasn't really a 2-stage trigger. It was more like a Glock trigger. It was like a 25-stage trigger, like a little bit of take-up, grit, grime, milieu, and then some kind of mushy break, which I didn't like that at all. I tried to make do with it. I could kind of get used to telling when it was going to break, but I was like, yeah, I'm just going to get up off of it. And I spent almost as much, I think, on the trigger as the upper, or it was a fairly decent amount close to the upper for the trigger. And I got a Geisley 2-stage 4.5 pound. And although they're both, again, I've talked about this before, there's a lot more to triggers than just a poundage. Although they're both 4.5 pounds and theoretically 2-stage, the Geisley is actually a 2-stage. It's like a very clean, take up a very defined wall, and then a very clean break, like a good 1911. So although it's heavy and curved, which I don't like, it's clean, and it's just so much better. It's worth every penny. They're not cheap triggers, but it's a good trigger. Again, I wouldn't advise you to have a service rifle trigger in your rifle unless you have to for rules, because it's just, anyway. But that's what I have to have for that. So I built that gun out. That 20-inch nitride barrel, it should give me, I debated between a stainless steel barrel and a nitride barrel. The stainless steel theoretically could be a little bit more accurate, especially if I broke it in and lapped it or something like that. But I wanted to try the nitride because it's a competition rifle, which means, God willing, I'll shoot it a bunch. And nitride should last quite a bit longer than the stainless steel. One of the reasons I wanted to retire that SIG tread is it's a phenomenally accurate, really good, reliable carbine, and if I keep shooting it in competition, I'm going to wear it out, and I don't want to wear it out. I'd rather just get a cheap upper that's nitrided that shoots decently well that I can wear out. So that's what I did. Anyway, so that's basically the build. It has an A2 style fixed stock on it because why not? A fixed stock is going to be better for that type of competition, better for a lot of other stuff. And I got to shooting that rifle, and I realized how much I like that rifle length. So I had done an episode talking about the fighting rifleman's rifle. So I decided to build a similar one so I could practice and shoot the one in competition. And it seems kind of silly to have that and shoot it all the time and go to competitions with it and not have one to go to that's geared more towards practical use. So I decided to, after I regretted spending the money on and buying that Springfield Cuna, that PCC, which just, I would have been unhappy with it if it cost $500, but it cost like $1,200. I sold it pretty quickly. I lost a little bit on it, but not a lot, because it's a hot gun that a bunch of people wanted. One of the reasons I got it, so I could review it for you guys. That thing was just not good. So I sold it pretty quick after I did the review for you guys, and I got most of the money back out of it. And for a similar price, I got a Colt M6, or not M16, the Ar-15M4, which is pretty much just a semi-automatic version of their M16A4, of which, going back to the preamble at the beginning of this, I'm fairly familiar with. Colt makes good quality firearms. They might not be the fanciest sometimes, but they are rock solid. They're really good quality. And I'm not sponsored by them or anything. They just make a good American-made gun. So I got that. I figured I've got the money. I've already spent it on a gun. I might as well put the money back into a gun And although probably aren't many of you guys out there screaming, because there's nobody probably in the gun tube glitterati is screaming about how great M16 clones are, I decided to go with a rifle length M16 or Ar-15M4. It comes with a good iron sight carry handle, which I like. It's got the good iron sights of which I qualled with expert in the Marine Corps out to 550 yards, 500 meters. You can certainly do it. I was out there with the was it M16 or M4 alternate qual for the Army. I was out there stacking them in the 300-meter target with the iron sights yesterday. It's a good sight system. It's a good iron sight setup, and I like that. I like having that and having those iron sights available if I want to swap them out. After I got the iron sights sighted in, I put an optic on there. I put that same SIG 1-4. Why would I put a SIG 1-4 on there when I could get even when they run specials on like P.S.A. for like the 1-6 or the 1-8 or the 1-10? One, because usually those things are obese and heavy. And another reason is it's an M16 clone. It's a 5.56. Even with the rifle length barrel with the more velocity, you're pretty much topping out at like 600 yards. You don't need more than 4x at 600 yards. You just don't, right? There's a reason the military chose like the ACOG. You don't need more than that. Stop thinking you need all this extra power. And another reason is, even if they were the same weight and everything, the 1-6s even that SIG makes or many other people makes, they make what I would consider like a murdered clown reticle. It looks like somebody took a clown and murdered him inside the tube. There's just all this garbage and all these colors and all this stupid stuff in the reticle. It's just a big giant donut with a dot and then a bunch of hashes and a bunch of holdovers and a bunch of wind stuff. Stop with all that. Those are garbage. The simpler, the better, to a point. You probably want a few hash marks for range. But if it looks like somebody vomited Fruity Pebbles inside your tube for your optic, there's probably too much going on in there, especially when you're under stress. Simpler, better. So the 1-4 has a simple, I forget what they call it, but a simple like fire dot, hash dot reticle, which is good. It's not bad. I like it. It's one of the reasons I liked it and got it for the competition and decided to go with it for the fighting rifle. It's a good, not overly complicated, not overly heavy, not overly bulky optic. So I decided to go with it. And I should back up a little bit. The Colt, if you're not familiar, it comes with a cold hammer forged chrome lined barrel. At least it's chrome lined. I believe it's cold hammer forged. It's magnetical particle inspected, all the parts. It's got a good mil spec bolt, which was a good bolt, but I really, really don't like manganese phosphate. I always want to call it magnesium. Manganese phosphate. I don't like it. I don't like that finish. I don't like it on a bolt. It just like clings to carbon. It's like that bolt is in love with carbon. Just sticks to it and wants to stay on there. Again, I don't like cleaning ARs in general. They're a pain in the butt to clean. Way more of a pain in the butt than most other guns. So to make it easier, I bought, and since I was happy with the other one, I bought a nickel boron bolt carrier. Toolcraft Industries nickel boron BCG. I was happy with it on the other build. It seems to be much easier to clean. So if you're looking for a decent upgrade, even just a nitride bolt carrier group, which in general is going to be cheaper, is still better than a manganese phosphate. So I got that. They also make tin titanium nitride. That's a real good one. Anyway, I got the upgraded bolt. Everything else on the rifle, pretty much good to go, right? It's got, I swapped out the handguards. It came with the regular A2 handguards. I don't want a bunch of junk on there to turn it into some, abomination that looks like it got drugged through the local gun show's bargain bin with a bunch of crap hanging off of it. But I did want the ability to mount a white light. So I got the simple Magpul clamp-on clamshell handguards. Why didn't you free float it? You got to have a free float. You'll never be accurate without a free float. The gun is crazy accurate. It's plenty accurate enough. You don't necessarily need a free floated barrel. Now, you can do better with a free floated barrel, but that's I think this is a common misconception, that is one of the things that contributes to accuracy. There are a ton of other factors. Yeah, if you have some unnecessary torque or some uneven torque or something on the barrel, you can affect accuracy if your barrel is not free floated. But this gun shoots great, and not only does it shoot great without a free-floated barrel, it shoots a bunch of different loads very well. And it shoots that match ammo, that 55-grain match ammo, very, very well. I'm very happy with it. So I'm not going to – I just put the simple things on there. I'm not going to go knocking off and, getting rid of the A2 front sight that's good and rugged and reliable. One of the reasons I like it, it's got the good iron sights. I don't want to get rid of those. So I put that clamshell on there, that simple rifle length mag pole with a few simple attachment points where I can put M-lock on there. So I can put a white light on there, and I put a simple 2-point sling on there. It's not tactical. Yeah, I get it. Right, I went to war with a web sling, and I survived. Now that said, I did buy a more tactical sideways mounted sling that I can have in the bag with it. But in general, I'm just going to run it with a 2-point sling for hiking, for going in the woods, for shooting it in classic rifle positions. I will have a more tactical sling in case I ever want to run that rifle like that. But I want this as a more general purpose rifle, not strictly a tactical rifle. Also, the more traditional handguards, there's a reason the military uses those, right? They're easy to take on and off. They're easy to clean. If I get mud, dust, dirt, blood, whatever in there, they're easy to clean. They're easy to take off and just clean the barrel underneath. They're simple. They're rugged. And again, with the Magpul ones, they allow me to mount a simple white light on there. Oh, I also ordered I had a spare Magpul grip, so I put that on there for now, but I ordered a Wilson Combat grip without the finger grooves. That's one of the things I also did. I got a more A1 style, a retro style grip for the CMP service rifle build, and I got one. I just happened to see one on Midway USA, a Wilson Combat grip, pistol grip without the finger groove. I can't stand finger grooves. I pretty much detest finger grooves on anything, on a knife, on a pistol grip, on an AR. Just stop with what are we in the 90s? Like, stop with the finger grooves. They're ridiculous. They're a bad idea on just about anything. So I got rid of the pistol grip with the finger groove. But other than that, the basic rifle comes with a good A2 stock. It comes with a compartment to stash your cleaning kit. It came with the mil-spec trigger, which actually, that Colt mil-spec trigger wasn't bad. It was much better, I think, than the actual Colt military trigger or FN trigger that I had in the military, because mine were 3-round burst, and those are garbage. 3-round burst is garbage, and the triggers themselves are garbage. They're just really bad triggers. If you've never had the displeasure of firing one, they're really bad. This was a much better trigger, but I figured I could do better, because this was not a competition build. I didn't have to stick to the service rifle trigger. So I got another Geisley trigger. It's a 3.5 pound, which I think is a good general purpose rifle weight trigger. This one's flat because, again, I don't have to stick to the rules of the CMP for this one. So I did a little bit to the rifle. Better trigger, which is one of the upgrades I encourage you to have. A better, I wouldn't say better, but easier to clean, slicker bolt, which may reduce malfunctions. I fired a bunch of different ammo through this rifle. I have had 0 malfunctions with it, no surprise. And here's one of the big takeaways, because I've been shooting M4s for so many years. I've served the M4 for police work, for private security contracting. Also served in U.S. Army, National Guard, both full-time and part-time. And I've shot a lot of M4 and M4 carbine-type rifles. I forgot how much more of a gentleman the rifle is. The rifle version, the M16 version, is just so pleasant to. It's like it wants to be shot a bunch. It's very, very gentlemanly. It's got a very pleasant recoil, if recoil can be pleasant. It's, one, because the rifle's heavier, and 2, because that rifle length gas system, the gas system and the blowback of the bolt and everything is a lot less violent than it is on the carbine length. Now, even in a carbine, I prefer a mid-length rifle gas system, which I can sometimes get, sometimes you can't. But it certainly is a lot more pleasant to shoot than the carbine style. It just is. And from what I understand, I'm not an engineer, but the M16 was the actual service rifle. The M4 was meant to be like a supporting role. It's kind of taken over because it's so much handier, but it was never designed to go the amount of round count that the M16 can go, the full rifle length version, because it's less violent on the system. the gas has dispersed quite a bit and is a lot, lower in temperature and velocity when it goes to that gas port. Every time you fire the rifle, you're eroding that gas port. That's how that works. Just with any rifle, every time you shoot it is one less round you can shoot through it because eventually it will break. That's just any firearm in general, any machine. But the M16 should, in theory, go longer without breaking than the M4s. That's another advantage. And you get the extra velocity. So there are some advantages of having a rifle length. Now, should you get a rifle length? No, probably not. You should probably get what I generally, if you want to build something similar, I would say get the Colt 6920, which is their carbine, their M4 clone, because most people don't live where I live. Most of you aren't shooting CMP service rifle. Most of you aren't going to shoot out to 600 yards. Most of you living east of the Mississippi would have a hard time finding a range that would let you shoot 600 yards. And most of you live in urban, suburban environments, which I would pretty much consider, except for maybe northern Maine, I would consider everything east of the Mississippi in Mordor, the entire East Coast, a city. One giant city from Miami to central Maine is a giant city to me. And then all the way west to Wisconsin, Minnesota area. That whole thing is one giant city to me. So if you live in that area, you probably should not get the rifle unless you shoot CMP. You should probably get the M4, the 16-inch, because you live in closed, tight environments. And for that, there's a reason why the M4 is taken over. It's shorter, it's handier, it's lighter, all of the things being equal in confined spaces, and it's good out to 300 yards. And for most of you, that's further than you're ever going to shoot. Any practical thing unless you just want to be cool and shoot farther. So most of you don't live where I live, in the wide open spaces in a very, very rural area. And most of you don't shoot CMP. If you want to get one, if you already have an M4, you already have a 16-inch, and I have more 16 inches than I have 20 inches as far as, the AR platform goes. If you already have a carbine or two and you want to build a rifle, go ahead. But if you don't and you're looking at something and you've listened to this, don't think that I'm telling you to get a rifle as opposed to a carbine. You should probably get the carbine. It's a more general purpose. It's a more general use. It's more general purpose, the carbine is, and more for general use for the average American, again, living east of the Mississippi. Or I would also include I guess you can't have it in California because your government doesn't want you to have modern firearms. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, for the average person, you're probably better off with the Colt LE 6920 or a similar carbine. The P.S.A. makes a really good affordable carbine, but any of the carbines. If you want to build a rifle, don't let me stop you. But if you don't have an AR and you're looking for a good truck gun, a good all-around gun, for most people, probably the carbine makes more sense. If you want to build a rifle, don't let me stop you. But if you don't have a carbine, I would say probably start there. That makes the most sense. But I wanted to talk about the rifleman rifle build. So I talked about the concept of it, and I talked about, and I just really like it being a rifleman. I like practicing my craft as a rifleman. I was out shooting yesterday. It was a lot. I thought it was going to be nice, but it was actually really cold yesterday. But I was still out there shooting and just iron sights, shooting a little tiny 300-meter silhouette, just stacking them in there. Just so much fun. Shooting with a sling, practicing my prone position, my kneeling position, my standing position, getting ready for CMP. I just like the classic rifle craft stuff. I forgot how much I loved it because I got so much into the more uber tactical stuff, which I'm getting ready for that too, right? I'm getting ready for, God willing, the Shoot Steel Challenge this year, which is basically drag racing with a firearm, going just super fast, which I love that too. But I also like being a classic rifleman. And if you haven't, you don't have to do any kind of special build. Again, last year I just went and shot it with whatever carbine I thought I had that suited it best, which was a no frills, SIG tread that I had, and I had to go put a worse trigger in it because the trigger I had wasn't legal for that. Pretty much everything else was. So look up CMP if you're interested, and hopefully this helped if you're looking at building a rifle version, an M16 version of the AR platform. Hope this was kind of helpful for you guys. It got some votes on the popular content. And I've said it before, if you want to vote on content, go to Patreon. There should be a Patreon link in the show notes. There's a bunch of other stuff on there, but for paid Patreons, obviously, there's It was approaching something like 3,000 posts last I checked. I do a lot more content on there than you guys hear on the general podcast. I do a lot more posts than I have podcast episodes. Audio, video, stuff like that. And most of that's for the paid members, I'm not going to lie. But I try and remember to make some things public, like the Bible verses that I post, try and make those public because I want those to be public. I shouldn't have to pay for those. And then I also try and make the vote for content, unless I forget, and just because the default setting in general is for paid members. But as long as I don't forget, I try and make it public for you to vote on content. And one of the reasons that you guys are hearing this is because it got votes. If you want to vote for content, again, go to Patreon. There should be a link in the show notes and scroll through and check it out. You may have to scroll a bit, but you should be able to find posts where you vote for content. I also usually put a thing in there for other, and you can click that, and then you can write in if you don't like any of my topics or you think something should be on there in lieu of that, you can also write in, and I try and stay on top of comments. Can't say I'm perfect. I can't say I have seen every single one, but I do make a concerted effort to. So go to Patreon if you want to vote for content. Again, this was one of the episode ideas that got some votes. At least the Colt build. I should also mention that Colt makes one, a really good one. And if you're just looking for a basic, like, military grade one, which is what I was looking for, there's probably several companies that make a good 20-inch rifle length, rifle gas system, all that. But I'm talking about for, like, the military style, there's the Colt and there's the FN. They're both good, guys. I've used both Colt and FN. They're both very good. They're both very high-end products. You choose whichever one you want. There may be a slight difference in, like, finish color or something, but both, and for the military, both Colt and FN have made that AR platform for the military. They're both like military-grade guns. I'll probably do, God willing, an episode in the future where I talk about Line 1 and Line 2 gear for this rifle or other rifles or truck guns or whatever, because I'll probably, God willing, put this in one of the vehicles as my vehicle build, the fighting rifleman's rifle, because it's what I'm going to be shooting a bunch of competition, and it just makes sense to have that as a go-to grab-and-go gun. I'll probably do one on Line 1 and Line 2 gear. What does that mean? That means, like, the other gear that I keep on the rifle, like a spare extractor, that would be Line 1 gear, like emergency cleaning stuff, Line 1 gear, extra set of earplugs, Line 1 gear, and I'll Line 1 gear and Line 2 gear. Line 2 gear being, like, stuff that's in the rifle bag or my bailout bag for it. Obviously spare mags, but things like an entire extra bolt carrier group, the carry handle, things like that, the instruction manual, Line 1 and Line 2 gear. So for that and other reasons, other content, make sure you're subscribed and share episodes that you think other people will like. As far as, like, podcasts go, I'm very blessed that people listen to this podcast, but it's not being pushed by any, like, the giant media corporations or big suppressor or big camo or whatever the big sponsors are, right? So if you guys could, like, subscribe, send the episodes that you think, oh, my buddy would like this, send it to your buddy. I'm not exactly sure how all the algorithm stuff works. I'm not going to pretend that I do, but I hear that it does good if you like and subscribe and leave thumbs up or whatever ridiculous emoji stuff. So if you want to do that, feel free. I'd appreciate it. Tactical tip of the day. Do not over clean your rifles or your carbines. It's one of the things that was really bad about the Marine Corps culture. They over clean their guns to death. They clean them to the point where you're, like, scraping off the finishes that are meant to protect the gun. Clean your gun when it needs to be cleaned. But I know some people think they have to clean their gun down to the bare metal every single time they pull the trigger. If you're a guy that shoots a lot like me, if you're just a guy that, like, takes a gun out and shoots it once and then puts it in a safe for a year, then if you want to do that, that's fine. You're probably never going to mess it up. But if you're a guy that likes to shoot a lot, like it's my day off, what am I going to do? I'm going to try and go shooting. Well, got done at the gym a little bit early and it's still light out. What am I going to do? I'm going to go shooting. If you're the kind of guy that's like, I'm gearing up for competition season, I'm going to shoot a bunch. Be leery of cleaning your guns too much. That can also damage your guns. And I'd be honest, with all my years around guns, I think I've seen more guns damaged from over cleaning than over shooting. Most modern guns, it's hard to shoot them out. Most people don't shoot that much. Yeah, a competition shooter will. But most regular people are not going to shoot out a gun. But people can really damage their guns by over-cleaning, damaging the crown, using cheap, 3-piece aluminum cleaning rods, leaving solvents in there too long, or, some kind of ammonia-based solvent they just put in there and leave in the bore or something like that. I think you can do more damage than good. So clean your gun when it needs to be cleaned, but be leery of over-cleaning your gun. That's your tactical tip of the day. Your tactical verse of the day. Let's start with, let's do the first 2 commandments. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of Israel. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands to those who love me and keep my commandments. My comments. Guys, beware of idols. Anything can be an idol. Guns can be an idol. Money in today's society is certainly an idol. No, I don't hate money. I got to pay the bills. I work. I'm working overtime on what I consider my second job, apart from the podcast, private security contracting. It's supposed to be part-time. I went to full-time. They're asking me to work overtime. As you might imagine, with things going on in the world, my op tempo is up. And I'm compensated for that, and I'm paid well. And I don't pretend otherwise. I don't hate money, but I don't love money. The love of money, not money, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. I think in today's society, there are several things that are common idols. May not be your idols, but money is one and sex is another. Don't ever put any of those things before God. Don't put anything before God. Beware of idols. Idols aren't just something that happened in Exodus 20 or 20-something with the golden calf. Right? Idols are alive and well in our society today. Many things can be an idol. I just give you 2 examples, but don't lift something up on a pedestal where it shouldn't be. Worship God and God alone. Serve Him and Him alone. Reminds me, I'll give you another verse. The first of all the commandments. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And with that, thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.